Good morning, guys. Happy fucking Thursday. How are we all? On today's podcast, last week we said that we're going to speak about grief, which is... got the tissues ready, I might as well leave them there.
Yeah, put them on a table.
It's going to be a bit of a tough one. How is everybody, first off? I did put a question out on my Instagram for people to ask me questions, and also what stories or suggestions or they've found that's helped them with their journey of grief. Have you had anything that's close to grief?
Not like close circle. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
obviously lost people as you're getting older or whatever, but not people that I speak to.
Yeah, like you're in a
weekly
circle,
or
yeah.
well, not weekly, but like daily or not in my close circle. No.
Like family.
Yeah, no, I can't think about it because it just scares me.
See, when I was 11 or 12, I was in year 7 or 8, so a boy died in my class of an asthma attack.
Oh my God.
And his mum had a open coffin as well. So that was like my first
experience of it.
Experience of it. Then my uncle died at that same period, so that was like, and then I think there was like a period where I didn't have anything. And then my best friend, he died in the army when I was like 21, 22.
I remember you talking about him, yeah.
So then I've had that, and then coming to Harley, which is my eldest son, for those of you that have not come from my TikTok page and are new here. So, I feel like I have to give a bit of a backstory, like how I come to where I am now, basically. Harley was nearly 10 when he passed away. And I'm going to try and give a little backstory. We went on holiday in August to Portugal, and as we got back, well, just as we was boarding the plane, I noticed that he was becoming unwell, like coughing and stuff like that. As soon as I got off the plane, took him straight to hospital, and they said he's got parainfluenza, which is some of this stuff I've not even told you.
No, we've been through, some, but...
Which is basically like some form of a flu. And then he was sent to Evelina Children's Hospital, and then he was in intensive care and he was unwell because it affected his respiratory system. While he was there, he caught MRSA. They'd done a deep clean on the intensive care bit, but Harley managed to still catch it. I was then told that he would be a carrier because they do like a 7-day deep body wash. And if that doesn't get rid of it, 1 in 3 people in London don't know they have it. This is what I was told by the doctors at that time. Fast forward to November, gone in Harley's room in the morning. He's sweating, extremely unwell, so I've rang an ambulance. He's been rushed to hospital. They said that he might have meningitis or sepsis, but because they pumped loads of stuff into his system, they couldn't test because there was too many antibiotics in his system by now. Just trying to fight it,
whatever it was.
Fast forward a week, he got sent to Lewisham Hospital. They said that he's fine and blah, blah, blah. And then on the Wednesday night, when he got took to Lewisham Hospital, Tuesday night he got took to Lewisham Hospital. So I was heavily pregnant as well, guys. I was 36 weeks pregnant when Harley was in hospital. We like settled him down and all stuff like that. Also, we've been doing transport all day and stuff like that. And then I left about 9:30, and my dad stayed with him. My dad left about midnight. When I arrived the next day, I noticed that Harley was it just wasn't Harley.
Yeah, you knew.
And like the saying goes, like, no one knows anyone's kid better than a parent.
Mum. Well, parent, but it doesn't sound horrible, but I feel like a mum has got an instinct,
like their own child, like, and even professionals. I think, like, obviously, I know that they've got all the qualifications and they've been trained and stuff like that. I still think that parents know their kids.
Yeah, do you know many stories of that? Like, even my mum with my brother. My brother had had to have his appendix out. She was up, down there, like, no, it's just this, it's just that. In the end, she was like, I'm not leaving. And they was like, we've got to rush him down to theatre, it's burst. Like, it could have died.
Yeah.
But because she knew it was something, she pushed for it. Parents definitely know.
Which I've had an incident with Harley where the doctor actually said, you was right.
Yeah.
And we was wrong. I was like, I know I was right.
Yeah.
But, so then I kept saying to her, like, something's wrong. And they was like, no, he's fine. Like, he's just had a bit of a distress night. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, why wasn't I rang and all stuff like that? There's more depth into this story, but I don't want to really go right into that because we'll be here forever. So throughout the day, I kept saying, something's wrong. Like, he's just not, but they just kept brushing it off. And then they let him go home at 7 o'clock Wednesday night. Went home, put him on his feed, Harley had cerebral palsy as well, guys, just so that he was non-verbal and in a wheelchair. Put him on his feed, put him in bed, put his TV programme in, went in there about 2:30, he was asleep. When I went back in there at 6 in the morning, he was just sweating, and his eyes, I was shining a torch in his eyes, and his pupils wasn't really reacting, so I rang an ambulance. Ambulance has come, and he's obviously doing his checks or whatever, and he's getting oxygen out, and then he said, like, get Calpol to put through his feeding tube. So we moved Harley, I had 2 beds in his room, so I moved Harley from his bed onto the other bed so that the ambulance man could gain more access to him. While the man was getting stuff out, I was standing next to the man, and Harley just turned and looked at me and shut his eyes.
You're doing good. You are.
And that look was, I know that look, it was just like, I've had enough. Then his chest just stopped. Then another ambulance come, and the man just picked him up. They were so good of him, he just picked him up and just ran out the house and said, like, and while we were sitting in the ambulance on the way there, for God's sake, I'm fucking stuck. On the way there, I was just looking at them working on him, and I saw the ambulance man tap the driver and say, like, it's cardiac arrest. And I know what that is, but I just still didn't register it. You know, like, I was just...
in that moment.
Just, yeah. And then we got to the hospital, and then they, because of all of his veins were obviously all shrinking, obviously due to his heart stopping, they drew a hole through the shin to get to the, like, inside the bone. They can get drugs in there. And then the doctor come and said, my mum and dad had turned up by now as well. And, you know, not just seeing him working on him was just one of the worst things. And the doctor come back, he said, we've got a pulse. And I looked at him and I said, he's gone. Like, I just know.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, no, you know, like, he's strong, you've got to stay positive. He said, we're going to take him. And then the pulse went again. So they had to fight to bring back another one. They said, we're going to take him for a brain scan to see what's going on. So I said, so what happens after this? I said, basically, if the brain scan shows that he's got new brain damage, like, because they had pictures, obviously, from when he got cerebral palsy during, then they put him in a coma and stuff like that. If there's no brain damage, it means that he's brain dead and he's gone. They're basically trying to work on a body that's not.
Yeah.
And that's how we come to where we are now. They done a brain scan and he just said, I'm so sorry to tell you that we've got to turn the machines up, you know, there's nothing we can do. So that's how it kind of, that's where I am now with my fucking grief story. That's it, really. And then from then, I actually give birth the next day, which that in itself was something, because people always ask me as well, how did you cope or manage, like...
How did you even get through birth, like, after that? I think it was the stress of, obviously, all of it that brought on
the stress
the labour
of it all. But the day that Arlie died, that night, and I had terrible pain, and my mum's like, you forgot to go to the hospital. I said, I'm not going today. I'm not having his baby today. Not on the same day.
No.
And then obviously I had the baby the next day. But my grief story is so I don't know. I never thought I thought he was going to be, you know, until he was old and I was old. And I always knew I'd be his carer, and I always knew that I'd be looking after him. And I never thought that I would be sitting here telling a story that I haven't got a son anymore. And I think a lot of my TikTok, I get asked all the time, like, how did he die? How did he die? And it's not that I'm trying to tell people, but when you tell a story, you go straight back to reliving that moment. It's like if you've got a funny story to tell, when you're telling it and you're laughing, you're picturing it and thinking about it. It's the same with grief, that when you're telling a story, you're reliving that moment. I can remember, you know, just how I can remember every single thing, going into the hospital, the room that he was in, you know, like just everything. So it can be very triggering for some people, but the hardest thing I found was when I had Winnie, because we was allowed to kiss Harley, we was allowed to touch him, kiss him. Once his time of death was announced, we was no longer allowed to kiss him.
Really?
Yeah, because it was an unexplained death.
Oh, right, okay.
So I was like, but that's my son.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm so sorry. And she was like, you can kiss his hands, his arms, but you know, you weren't allowed to touch his face. And even that was hard. I thought, I've got to let him go and I can't even give him a kiss. And then I had Winnie the next day. And the hardest thing for me was my mum, because I had an emergency caesarean had to go to the chapel of rest. And he was behind glass because he still hadn't had his post-mortem. And I had a new baby here. And I saw my eldest son, like, behind the glass.
Stop, because I can't.
You know, and it was just such I couldn't even be happy that I'd given birth, and we all know how that should be one of the happiest moments in the world.
Yeah, but no one has their birth story like that, Brad. You can't think like that. Do you know what I mean? Because
I used to look at her and think, why are you here? Like, not that I didn't want her, but it was just such, you know, I was just looking at this baby thinking, I don't even know you, like, but I know him, like, he's mine and she is mine. But it was just, because a lot of people ask, you know, how did you give birth? Then you're grieving and you suppose you've got the happiest time of your life and the worst time of your life.
Oh, do you get through both of that at the same time?
At the same fucking time. And I think, I don't think I started grieving, but also I don't think I enjoyed of bringing a little human into the world either. I just sat in the hospital for 7 days, just I don't know, everything, and I can't remember a lot of a certain period of when Winnie was born, you know, like when they ask you things and I'm like, I don't know,
that's understandable though, Brad.
Like numb. But let's get on to questions. Now everybody knows my story, and then from the questions I can talk about how I think and feel about certain things. So what helped you on your grief journey is what I've asked. Lost mum in September 23, then my brother in October 23. Talking about them is the only thing that helps. I always talk about Harley.
Yeah.
I've had 2 children after him and they are fully aware of who he is.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that they didn't know him. Do you know what I mean? At all.
I do also have Harley buried at home, which I suppose is going to have to be another episode because a lot of people are like, what the hell? Some people think it's beautiful, some people think
that's
it's
because
weird.
people imagine a little back garden. Do you know what I mean? It's not, is it? It's different.
He's got his
own garden.
Yeah, he's in a tomb. And I did originally have him buried in a cemetery, and then I had him exhumed and brought home. But I suppose that'll be another fucking episode of my life. But yeah, so I find talking about the person keeps it alive. I've still got a coat of Harley's hanging up. His wardrobe's still full up, exactly how it was. Trixie has moved into his bedroom. Took a couple of years to get there, but she has his room, but that 2 wardrobes, and she likes his stuff there.
Yeah.
She doesn't want it to be, you know, moved out or
Moved.
changed or anything like that. So I do think that talking about the person, but also you have to be very careful, because when you're dealing with grief, you might want to talk about the person, but someone who's close to you might not. So it's hard, because then you can trigger something in them
Grief that they have.
that they've got as well. Keeping a memory alive by talking about them, having things in your home to remind you of them, which is what I just said.
You've got lots of things around that are all Harley, haven't you?
Yeah.
He is everywhere.
Pictures, fucking coat hanging up still. You know, like there's still bits that I
Stocking
feel
at
like
Christmas.
Yeah, stocking still has stocking at Christmas. I feel like I feel like if I don't do them things, it's like I'm forgetting about him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I know it's not, and there are parents out there and people out there that everybody deals in their grief their own way, and I don't think there is a right or wrong way. Whatever you do might not suit me, and what I do might not suit someone else. You know, grief, everybody has to take their own story their own way. And obviously you can listen to people's stories, and if you feel that taking something from that will help you, then take it. And if you listen and think, I don't know if that's a bit of me, then you don't have to take it. You know, grief can be a very touchy subject. I think with grief as well, there's so many different avenues of grief. I feel like, and I don't want to upset anyone when I say this, but we are about having our own opinions and honest. I feel like the grief of a parent that's had a miscarriage, and the grief of a parent that's give birth to a sleeping baby, I think that grief is different to a parent's grief that's had a child living on earth. And I'm not saying that their grief's invalid, because it's not. There is you grieve a relationship. If you split up with someone, you do grieve that relationship, even though they're still alive.
Like you said, a friend passing away compared to your mum passing away, compared to a child, they're all different griefs. Like, not to say they ain't bad in your own way, but to a child.
I have had people that have like, I know how you feel, because I gave birth to my baby at 30 weeks, and I think you don't.
No.
You know, you don't know how I feel.
It's not the same.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And you are you're grieving. That's not valid.
Yeah.
But I don't think you know how I feel. You're grieving something that you never had. I'm grieving something that I've had. I'm missing doing the feeds. You know, I'm missing my whole routine
of every day was around
when Harley passed
away.
I kept waking up thinking I could hear his feeding machine. You know, like I kept looking at the clock thinking, like, Harley's going to be home from school. So, you know, like, you have to readjust everything. And I kind of felt lost. I thought, what am I going to do now?
Well, yeah, because you was his carer as well.
Because I was his carer
busy
as well.
Every day.
Yeah. And then I would just sit there thinking, what do I do?
Yeah, now what?
What do I do now?
But then maybe having Winnie and having the baby feeds and things like that kept your mind that little bit busy.
I do sometimes think, you know, maybe it does. People say things happen to a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe that did happen for a reason.
She was given to you to be like, come on, Mama, you've still got this.
Yeah.
You know, you can carry on.
My kids spending money, keeping busy, music, and avoiding people. I like all of them suggestions.
All of that.
Yeah.
We always say though, innit, as kids.
I don't think I've even started grieving yet. I think we don't realise that we're grieving and we're actually progressing on our grieving journey. You don't ever think that you've got better, or you don't ever think that you're gonna. You don't ever heal from it. But as time goes on, I heard a saying once, and it said grief is like a heavy rock in your pocket. And all you do is you just get stronger carrying that rock.
Yeah,
the size
still
of the
there.
rock never changes.
No.
But you just get stronger carrying it. And that is true. You just... I could be driving down the road and then I'll just start crying. I just think of, like, you know, and then I'll just start crying. Or I could be sitting in the bath. I do... When it's Harley's birthday or his passing day, I think the kids kind of see my emotions then, but I do try to hide it from them outside of them dates because, and I know grief is life, but I don't know, sometimes I just feel like I need it to just be my moment.
Yeah.
You know, they don't always need to be bombarded with my tears. Like, you know.
But the kids are so understanding of all of it, though, aren't they? And
I
they
think because
grieve as well in their own way when
Yeah.
it comes round to certain times or whenever.
yeah,
And
that-
they're understanding of you and of how you're feeling.
how I'm
and
feeling
because he is such a big part of your house
of
as
the
well.
Yeah, I agree to that. I talk to them, helps me rationalise my chaotic thoughts. I do talk to Harley around the house. I know that his presence is in the
Yeah,
house.
I was going to say that he's definitely
Like, I know
in the
that,
house.
and there's so many times that I'll be in the house alone and I can hear like walking around, running around like upstairs. And every time I've gone to a medium, they've always said like he's in your house, like walking around. Like, have you ever heard him? No, like, and I'm like, I know.
Yeah,
So I get comfort
in
from that.
yeah.
But I suppose I've always believed in life after death. And I think people that don't believe in that their avenue of grief is going to be completely different to mine, because I know that this time apart is temporary.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that we're going to be together again, and I think that whether it's the silly thought, whether I'm just focusing on that so that I don't have to face the realise that, do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what gets you through as well, isn't
that's
it? Yeah.
what gets me through, is that I do believe that we will be together again.
Yeah.
I've just got to persevere with this hell on earth.
Running around upstairs together.
Scaring everyone else. What's next? Speaking to someone I didn't know about the loss of loved ones rather than friends and family. That one is 100% true, because I found that when Harley passed away, I'd wake up and I thought, right, I've got my shit together today. And my mum would FaceTime and she's not got her shit together.
Yeah.
And then now I ain't got my shit together. And I refused counselling for the first 2-3 years, I think it was. I was like, no, I'm fine.
Don't want to relive it.
You know, I don't. But then when I went counselling and just speaking to someone that was not emotionally attached to the story was so much easier.
Yeah.
I could say what I wanted. I could cry as much as I wanted without feeling like I'm going to upset someone
Or like
else.
you've got to comfort them at the same time.
Yeah. So I do believe that speaking to someone that isn't involved in that situation is far more better than trying to open up to someone that is in it.
Yeah.
So I do strongly believe in that. You know, like I'd go on my Facebook and one of my family members would have put a picture up of him and a little, you know, quote, and then I'd think,
why have you done that?
that just set me off. You know, I couldn't even go. I had to refuse to go on my social media for a little while. And I know that everyone, it's all love.
Trying to, share some love with you, but
do you know what I mean?
if you're having that little moment where you're like, I'm okay, and then, see
it's-
something,
yeah.
it's again.
What's the most thing you miss about Harley? Everything.
Everything, yeah. How can you
Everything.
say that?
He would be 19 now. I'd love to see, and he was tall as well. Like when he passed away, so I'd love, you know, how tall would he
Long
be
legs.
now? You know, would his favourite TV show still be to Come Dine With Me and Lee Evans? And do you know what I mean? And he loved the Toy Story. You know, just what would the kids be like with him as well? Having him, you know, Tiger obviously was the closest to him in age, and she would be the one that she would help, like, get up and would get his medicines ready, and she'd sit on his bed, you know, like, so she was very much more attached to him than the others. Obviously, Winnie and Mon never met him, but I know my mum Rose so kind-hearted and soft.
You can tell that your kids have been around, like, additional needs and things, because they are so caring with anyone like that, and understanding of all of it. Like, all of them, even Chancey, who's a teenage boy, do you know what I mean? Like, even around Dixie, they're all lovely with her. They all just get it. All different needs.
But yeah, I miss everything. The what's, the whys, and who's, and what, you know, I
Every little thing.
they're things.
They would never,
What coping skills have you used in the past crisis? I don't think I've got, like, I'm going to be honest, I don't feel like I've got any, like, particular coping mechanism.
What could you have? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, there isn't any way that I think you could say, oh yeah, I do this and I feel better, or I do this. It's a day at a time.
Sometimes, and I know sometimes if you're feeling a bit emotional, you think now's not the right fucking time. I'm walking into the hairdressers, or you know, I'm picking the kids up from school. Like, so there is times when I think, Brad, like, no, hold the shit back.
Yeah.
Like, but then there's other times when I think, let it out, and I'll just sit there, you know, and then just have a cry and a think and a kiss of a picture, or I might sniff his clothes in his wardrobe, you know, like just weird little shit. But I think sometimes you do just have to go through it. You can't ignore grief.
No.
You can't
and it's
pretend
each day,
that,
taking each day, innit?
Yeah. When I used to think to myself, if I'd sit there and think I'm never going to see him again, that
yeah, you can't.
was something that I just no, and then I started thinking of something else.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't think about that, and now I don't think that I'm never going to see him again. I think I'm just not going to see him for a little while. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
And that's.
And look how much you'll have to tell him when you do.
Yeah. He'll be like, oh, I want a word again. Dream visits. So this one here, right? The day before Harley's funeral, I had him at home and I sat with him on the sofa and I just played with him all night and just cuddled him and touched his hair and stuff like that. And I noticed here he had like a little dark patch coming on his face, which is obviously when the skin starts to deteriorate and stuff. And once after Harley's funeral, I stayed on that sofa with the same blankets and the same pillow and for a little while. Then I thought something happened and I wasn't sure whether it was a dream or it actually happened. So I had a sofa here, which is where we laid, and there was a sofa there. And I woke up, and as I looked at the back door, Harley was standing there and he had the tracksuit on that he was buried in, but he had one hand in his pocket, but he did have the little dark thing there. And I was like that, like my eyes, like.
Yeah.
And then he said, Mum, I'm okay. And then it just, I don't know if I woke up or he just left or whatever. And then I spoke to a medium and she said to me, he's come to you, hasn't he? And I was like, yeah, but I weren't sure if it was like, obviously Harley was in a wheelchair, but he was standing.
Yeah.
So she said, you would only dream of him being in a wheelchair because that's all you've ever known.
Seen, yeah.
You wouldn't dream of him standing up because you never saw him standing up, and obviously he never spoke either. So I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that he come
Made
and
me go.
give
me like
that he
shivers.
come and I'll never forget the way that he was just standing there, just looking at me like with his hair, and I think because he had that patch there as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I was just looking at him, and he just said, "Mum, I'm okay," and then he went on. I don't know. Do you know? Like it was.
Yeah.
So I think dream visits or things that we think are they help. They help you think they're all right. They're all right. And whenever I go to a medium, they say,
yeah, you've been to quite a few mediums, haven't you?
They say, is there anything you want to know? I said, is he all right?
Yeah.
That's all I want to know. Is he okay?
I want to know everything, really. But, you know, tell me what you can.
Looking at things and doing things they love to do. See, I love Come Dine Anyway.
Yeah, I like Come Dine.
So when I watch that, it does make me think of him because he just used to piss himself laughing at the narrator. But sometimes Harley loved The Simpsons. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah,
but sometimes if it comes on, because I haven't turned the TV over from what I was watching before, I think I'll leave it on.
Yeah.
Because it just like reminds me of Harley.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that.
And like the little jumper you bought the other day, because you see that and that popped up and it was Toy Story.
And so that's the kind of things that I do to kind of connect to him.
Bit of comfort.
You know, a bit of comfort that let's watch Simpsons together, even though I hate it.
Yeah, I don't like Simpsons.
How can I help my sister when she's lost her partner? so hard because you want to be there,
Yeah.
but you think, right, am I being over too much?
I think you've
But then
just
if you
kind
don't say
of
enough, you think, do they think that no one's there for
yeah.
me?
But I think you've got to let people go through their own grief, how
Yeah.
they go through it. You can
I've-
make them know that you're there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Be there from the sideline.
Yeah.
Text every message every day if you want.
Without expecting
yeah.
a reply, kind
You know,
of thing.
I'm here for you if you ever need anything. Are you okay? Do you want to go for a coffee?
Yeah.
Do you want a shoulder? You know,
Let me
like,
come round and do your washing.
yes, please. But I don't think that you can. And I think if the person you're with is the person that's lost someone, and they start talking about the person, then go with it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily say bring it up
Yeah, no.
in case they're not ready to go with it.
Yeah.
That's my no question, but it never gets easier. 5 years from my sister on the 10th of February. It doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier, but you get stronger.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. How do you live after losing a child? You're so strong. Thank you.
You are.
I was actually telling Ruby the story this morning. Once, when Harley had passed away, and it was about 12 weeks after he had passed, I had wrote a note to my family and my children, and I just thought, I cannot live on this on this earth without him. But then I looked at my children and thought, how can I purposely put them through
And what you're
of
thinking.
what I've gone through? How can I do that to them?
Yeah.
And that's really what it's them. I am being this strong person for them. And there's many times now, you know, he's passed away 9 years ago, that I still have the thoughts. I still feel, oh, this is just so hard. This is so hard. And every day you're like pretending. That's how it is. Is every day you get so good at saying, yeah, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. But you go home and you're not fine. But it's the kids. If I didn't have them, I would 100% have been with
Being
him.
gone, yeah.
I wouldn't be here. But I can't, being their mum, the person that gave birth to them and decided to bring them into the world and love them and nurture them, look after them for the rest of their life and my life, be the one that breaks their heart on purpose.
Yeah. Or makes them feel how you feel. Do you know what I mean? Imagine you wouldn't want to put that on them, grief that
I would
you've
not
experienced.
want them to have that feeling at all. Right, next question. Does it get any easier?
Not easier, is it?
I lost my nan last year and I miss her all day, every day. You learn to live with the missing. You know, you learn to... And it doesn't get easier, but I just, like someone else said, you know, doing things to take your mind off. If I wasn't hectic every day with school runs and meetings and life and work and all stuff like that, my whole being would be consumed with missing him.
Yeah.
And I do miss him, and it's not even that I'm not thinking about him. You just learn.
You can't sit and think, why me, why this, or you know how awful that is, or how sad it is. It's not you, because if you sit in that, then it's all going to come to you, and you are going to feel like that. You fill your life with other things to just keep you occupied, to not be thinking that.
Yeah. Sounds opposite, but not going to the grave helped me. I break down there when I go. When Harley was buried in the cemetery, I could not cope. I just kept looking, thinking, why is he down there? I personally couldn't have him cremated. Every parent is entitled to do what they like with their child, but I just couldn't have him cremated, so I had him buried. And going to the grave, and him being that far down, that is what tormented me. I just thought he's, you know, and I was there all the time. As soon as it opened, I was there. If the kids was at school, I'd be at the cemetery, you know, like, and when I found out that I could actually have him brought home, and I did say to my friend who's my funeral director, I said, why didn't you tell me this? Like, when
it's not something people know. I didn't think that.
And he said to me, he said, Braid, he said, you would not have been mentally ready to have him at home.
Yeah.
He said, you would have been like, it just weren't, you know, he says, when they're in the cemetery, you get time to go home and you're kind of away from it. And then I said to him, I said, I want to bring him home. He said, you need to go online, look at this, do this. And
it's not easy, is it? You had to go through a lot to have him home.
And then I turned up at his shop within about an hour of me being on the phone to him with all the paperwork and said, bring my son home. And it took about 6 months, and then we had...
Really took that long?
We had Harley. He was exhumed on the 3rd of... So he was buried on the 9th of December 2015. And I had him exhumed on the 3rd of January 2017, because they had to do it late at night, obviously, because the cemetery has to be
2017, so a whole year after.
Yeah, God. Because it wasn't until 2016 I'd
realised that you could, and then it took 6 months to do it.
And then he come home on the 4th of January 2017, which is his birthday.
Yeah.
So he come home on his 11th birthday. And the peace that I got from having him at home, because people say to me all the time, like, it's weird, like, who would do that?
How?
You're never going to...
Honestly, how people that have not been through what you've been through can have any kind of opinion on it. I think you don't know. You've not been through that. You wouldn't know how you would feel, what you would do. You know, if someone said, oh, you can do that, why wouldn't you want him at home? Do you know what I mean?
And I completely get some parents that have lost a child might think, no, I don't think I could cope with that, which is fine. But I couldn't cope with him being in the cemetery, and having him home, it was like he's home, he's back where he belongs.
Yeah, felt the peace in that.
I felt like we was all back together.
Yeah.
How we've always been our little family. Do you know what I mean?
Like I said, it's not like a little garden that you walk out and he's there. He's got his own, lovely little garden that's decorated lovely. You can go in there and sit in there. You can walk past and say, morning, Harley. Like, it's not a open your door. Like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine, like, a little garden? It's not like that, is it? Like, you open your door.
So, for me, having him buried mentally just tortured me, and bringing him home was the best decision I ever made as his parent. So when I do get negative stuff on social media, I think because I think no one has any idea of the peace and comfort that it brought me, I will never get irritated or upset or anything, because you're not me.
Yeah.
And I know that
how you feel. So it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks on it.
So that I'm kind of just like...
I think when you're 100% in a decision that you've made, it doesn't matter what anyone says, because it's like, it doesn't bother me at all.
Anyone around me will tell you as well how I changed once he had come home.
Yeah.
You know, my mental health improved. You know, I felt like he's back, he's home, and it was just a happy, sad, bitter fit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was home. But I do get how going to a grave kind of makes, like, the realisation
that they're not there.
Support from family. Family support does help. My kids and my husband, I wish they knew just how special they were. I think my kids as well don't realise how much they are a pain in the bum sometimes, but how much they
keep you together.
They keep me going. You know, I'm so proud of all of my kids, and I think that having other things to focus on does help you.
Yeah. Hold you together.
Yeah. But grief is a very...
And they definitely keep you busy, your kids, don't they?
Yeah.
They keep your mind on other things.
Yeah, they definitely
all of them.
keep me busy, especially with the schools and the phone calls. Oh, yeah.
Never a dull moment in your house.
But I think with grief, I feel like I've lost my nan. Was never like particularly close, but you know that's one part. No other family. I lost my dad in 2019. That, you know, I'll miss my dad, and I'll get things, and it always reminds me of my dad. But you know, my dad was unwell and he had a bad chest and stuff like that, so I knew that it was his time.
Yeah, and he was not that he was old, but older than you. Do you know what I mean? When it's someone young, it's different.
So and you know, and I've lost a friend, but I don't know. A child is just completely different. So my grief story and advice and things like that might not help someone who's lost their mum.
Yeah.
Or that's, you know, had a miscarriage. You know, it's everybody is different. So when you're going through your grief journey, guys, just know it's your journey, it's your story. Feel how you want to feel. Get upset when you want to get upset. But, you know, listening to people does help.
You can take what you want from it. You don't have to
take what you want from it. And if you're listening to someone's story and you feel like they're further on than you, or, you know, they've done something different, like, there's no right or wrong way about dealing with grief. Everybody's story is individual and personal to them. And on that note, we are finished.
Well done.
How many of you's cried? That was horrible.
I'm proud of you.
We will be on next week. Next week, I don't know if we're going to have a subject or we're just going to have a chit chat of what's going on social media and just life and stuff like that. I feel like we'll do a little, nothing in particular one.
A little easier one than this week, yeah.
Might have a wine next week.
Yeah. Bailey's coffee next week.
Make sure you're subscribing to my YouTube, my Instagram and my TikTok. Thank you for watching us, and